Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this event. And my deepest regrets that I can't do it from there, but instead from this far less attractive surroundings that you see in the background. But it is what it is. So a year ago, things looked fairly good. We were living the 7th year of a rather broad-based economic expansion in the euro area, and we were optimistic about this year. Now things, as it happened, came to an abrupt end with the pandemic. As it looks now, the GDP contraction this year will be approximately in the same ballpark as the one we experienced in 2009 in the context of the financial crisis. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. This time it was the real economy that took a direct hit, whereas the financial sector has been showing remarkable resilience. And this, I would say, is testimony to the work we have done over the last 10 years, as the results of which the banking sector entered the current crisis in far stronger capital and liquidity situation than 10 years ago. And as a result, so far, banks have been part of the solution to the problem, not the problem as such. Now, the title of this session is about restoring optimism in the financial markets. Frankly, if you look around, you don't really see an acute lack of optimism in the stock markets or the bond markets or even the forex market when it comes to the euro. As bad as the economic situation is, the markets have found reasons to be optimistic, and I would tend to agree with their assessment here for several reasons. First, the national governments acted fast to provide substantial fiscal stimulus to their economies, and the EU fiscal rules were suspended to enable this. Also, the ECB added further significant measures. Then there were the 3 safety nets that were agreed by the Eurogroup in the spring, the ones based on the EU budget, the EIB, and the ESM, all of which are now up and running. And finally, there's the historical 750 billion next generation EU package that the minister just referred to, a package that is funded by union borrowing on the markets. Honestly, back in February, I don't think anyone, and I would include myself there, could have imagined that the union could, in a span of about 3 months, agree to such an extensive package of measures. And I think this demonstration of our ability to act is what the markets have taken as a very, very positive sign. So far, so good, but clearly this is not over. COVID-19 keeps doing damage to our society and our economies every day, and it will keep doing so for still some time to come. And even when it's over, the damage will not be undone overnight, particularly in some sectors. So while there does not seem to be an immediate risk of financial instability, we will all emerge from this crisis weaker than before. And that will make the situation fragile for the years to come. And specifically, once the moratoria and other measures are over, the banking sector will likely see an increase in non-performing loans and an erosion of capital position. So the challenge we are facing is not really one about restoring optimism. It's about maintaining the present positive sentiment in face of the inevitable difficulties ahead. So how to do that? I think you all know the answer to that, and the minister just mentioned the key elements. The measures we have put in place and the tranquility in the markets will not by themselves fix our economies, but they provide some time and shelter for governments to take the measures necessary. And the governments cannot afford to waste this opportunity. We essentially need three things. We need to fix the dysfunctional structures that hold back our economies. We need a credible debt reduction strategy, and we need a better integrated financial markets. I'll say a couple of words on each of these. First, regarding the role of the next generation EU in all this. Now, the package, as I said, is historical, but it's not transformational in terms of easing national budgetary constraints. It will support national efforts, but it is not a massive instrument of fiscal expansion as such. Even in the countries that stand to benefit the most, one of which is Greece, it will reduce public debt to GDP ratios only slightly. The game-changing element needs to come from elsewhere, and it's the policies that countries will be putting into place in the coming years that matter. Policies that remove bottlenecks and modernize structures. The money that we spend in the next few years must become good debt, invigorating debt. It must finance reforms and investment that raise productivity and resilience and address challenges such as green and digital transformation. And if we succeed in this, this would at the same time become our credible debt reduction strategy. We all know that debt levels will rise substantially. There's nothing we can do about it right now, and trying to consolidate at this point would clearly be counterproductive. Fiscal support need to continue for the next year or two, maybe a little longer, we will see. But since we cannot work on the debt levels directly in the short term, we have to work on our economy's capacity to serve their debts. The road to fiscal sustainability must be through growth, and the money we spend now must be put in good use. So the aim is not to maintain our economies as exact replicas of what they were before. It's not to create an army of zombie companies in our economies. The aim is to provide viable companies the means to survive the crisis, and an environment in which they can thrive and grow again when the crisis is over. And I want to say that although the Next Generation EU is a European program, the real challenge lies with the member states. We in Brussels, we in the Union, will certainly examine each other's recovery plans. We will discuss and encourage each other. We may even apply some friendly peer pressure. But in the end, the responsibility, the ownership, the implementation are ultimately with the member states. And the words of the minister just before me were quite encouraging in this respect. My final point is about financial integration. A dynamic private economy post-COVID will rely on healthy financial sector that provides access to stable funding across the euro area. I said earlier that the work we have done to fix our banking sectors has borne fruit, and it indeed has. But while the stability of the banking sector is now much stronger than a few years ago, we still have some ways to go before we can speak about a truly unified European banking that provides equal access to funding across the continent. So we must make progress with the completion of the banking union. This is a politically sensitive dossier that has been with us some time. It touches on several complex issues: common deposit insurance, cross-border integration, crisis management, and resolution and financial stability. And finding an agreement on all this will not be straightforward, but I do hope that the crisis has focused everyone's minds and will help to overcome obstacles and help everyone to conclude that the benefits of a completed banking union are clearly greater than the costs. It goes without saying that apart from the banking union, the European economy also needs integrated capital markets, so the work must go on with that as well, but I don't have time to elaborate on this, so just look forward to work on the action plan that the Commission is coming up in later this year. I stop here. Thank you very much.